Hey there, EB here on the Anything But Blam weekly update. Merry Christmas. This is the night before Christmas. We had Festivus yesterday. Renee and the kids and I had a fun time airing our grievances against each other, just in a good natured way. We actually watched the episode on Seinfeld this morning. Day before Christmas is always so much fun. Renee's in the kitchen cooking some Christmas butter cookies. Our daughter Sydney's going to go home because she has to work for some of her friends during Christmas weekend. We're going to be going to Colorado to ski next week. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of snow in Colorado right now. So let's pray for snow. This will be my last weekly update towards the end of the year. I'm so grateful. I have no grievances to air with uh, any of you except Jim Heimdall. I think the guy's disgraceful. I think that what he's doing to Sandy Smith is disgraceful, and it's my hope that she sues him for harassment and using the likeness of her son Stephen to advance his economic interests. But I want to tell you, I want to wish everybody a happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, healthy New Year. 2026 should be great. We have a lot of thing going on in Cup of Justice and different uh, organizations I'm going to be speaking to about my book, Anything But Bland in 2026. So let's jump right in to the weekly news update. President Trump has gotten some very good economic news that has come out. The third quarter GDP, the gross domestic product, has increased 4.3% in the third quarter, which is very high. Um, there is inflation that we thought was going to be over 3% is now down to 2.7%. And the spending by Americans has increased, but it's increased only by the top 10% wage earners and those with net worth. It seems that high prices don't have a way of causing high income people to stop spending, which is good. So, some of what President Trump has said it is, let me fix this picture. It's driving me crazy. Hold on. Some of what President Trump has said is true. That his economic policies are starting to take hold, and we should see bigger returns on those in the first and second quarter of 2026. Um, so, there is a little bit of disconnect with the media as opposed to what the economic numbers are saying. However, on Main Street, there is a feeling that people are feeling the pinch on high energy costs, whether it is high oil costs to heat your home in the winter. Gasoline is below $3 a gallon. It's at the lowest point it's been since 2021. Unemployment, though, is above 4%, so that's a signal that there could be a problem. But the stock market is also over 48,000. So there's a number of things that are going positive in the economy that President Trump does deserve credit for. Let's talk about the Epstein data dump that happened last Friday on December 19th. Remember, every single member of Congress except one signed the Epstein Full Disclosure Transparency Act. And they began releasing documents last Friday. There were a number of photographs of Bill Clinton. I think the first data dump was designed to humiliate the Clintons and some other people who Trump has issues with. Um, I think that what we saw was there was 500 redacted pages, which completely blacked out. So one of the things is the Justice Department is going to have to balance the privacy rights of people versus and and victims and versus full disclosure. You're automatically tainted if you were at a party and you were just put in a photograph with Jeffrey Epstein and that photo is released. There's almost a presumption that you were close with him or whatever. What we do know, though, is that Trump has grossly um, misrepresented his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It was a lot more substantive. It was a lot more vibrant. It was a lot more frequent than what he said. It's true that in the late 2005 to 2010, their friendship wasn't as strong as it was. But in the 90s, Trump flew on his private jet with just him and Ghislaine Maxwell many more times than previously reported. Um, the DOJ emails that have been released clearly show that. So we also found finally the Brown University and the MIT professor murderer. He was found dead. Homeless person was the one who gave the tips on where he was and his car. And the homeless person, I think, is going to get the $50,000 reward as he should. But I just don't know what caused this person to do this. He had attended Brown University 20, 25 years ago, never graduated. I don't know what the connection was on why he felt he needed to come back to Brown as well as to MIT to kill a professor. I think he went to school with the professor, but I'm very, very happy that he was apprehended. Obviously, he was killed, but that he couldn't cause any more carnage. The other thing is the Bondi killings in Australia. I'm anxious to find out what was the true reason why the father and son decided that they were going to kill these innocent Jews during Hanukkah. Um, sad news. Former Nebraska Senator Ben Sass. Um, he is the president, I believe, of Florida University. He announced that he has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He's in his 50s. He has some young kids, I think, that are 10 and 12. Just a really good guy. He was run out of the Senate on a rail. He voted for Trump's impeachment after the 2020 January 6th debacle. He was elected as senator in 2014 and reelected in 2020. He announced that he's going to die, and it's just really, really sad. Marco Rubio gave a end of the year speech on the State Department and as well as some of the immigration issues that he's in charge of. I think he is the most consequential Secretary of State that we've had. Um, he was intricately involved in the Gaza negotiations. He's involved in the Ukraine-Russian negotiations. And I think he's reshaping the Southern Hemisphere. Remember, he's from Cuba. And I think he is fully on board with what Trump is doing with Venezuela, with Maduro trying to get him out of office, as well as Colombia. So I think Marco Rubio would be a incredible president. I think he is more traditional Republican that um, I'm used to instead of Donald Trump. Again, I voted every single presidency for a Republican, except in 1992, I did vote for Ross Perot. Up to 2016, I did not and will not ever vote for Donald Trump. But Rubio is reshaping the Southern Hemisphere. He's still on board with these bombings of the boats. Um, the question is, can the administration get its messaging right? Is it because they want to get rid of the narco terrorism with Maduro and his family and the drug runners, or is it because they want regime change, or is it because Trump just wants oil because they have taken over three oil tankers so far and taken the ships, which they'll plant our own flag or they'll sell, and we'll take the oil. So um, Joyce Beatty, who is a House of Representative from Ohio, has filed a lawsuit in the District Court of the United States over the fact that Donald Trump put up the Donald J. Trump and John F. Kennedy um, Center. I think that she is voting, she filed this lawsuit to have the court declare that the actual congressional act that went to naming this said that Congress is the only body that can change the name or alter the name. Trump's handpicked board of directors, which includes his wife, Rick Grenell, who used to be the ambassador to Germany, who's now a NATO ambassador, um, and Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, they were on the board who voted to put Trump's name on there. The real problem is that Trump is putting his name on somebody else's memorial. So understand why I have an objection to this. It's not, I don't mind, although I don't like it, that he's putting Trump RX and Trump gold cards and this. These are something new that he's putting his name on, even the battleships that we're going to talk about in a minute. But when you have a memorial that's for somebody else, whether it's the Lincoln Memorial or the John F. Kennedy Center or it's the Washington Monument, those are for people that have died, and that is their memorial. And for Trump to put his name on John Kennedy's memorial, I think is in such poor taste. I am absolutely convinced that the court's going to strike it down and make him take those letters down. Those letters, by the way, were already in manufactured and put um, uh, in play even before the board voted to change the name. It's a disgrace. I really am against naming things when somebody is still alive. And I only give you the example of somebody who used to be my hero was Joe Paterno. And, his defensive coordinator, Jerry Sandusky, who molested a lot of these boys, and Paterno knew about it. They had to take down statues of Paternos. They had to take down street signs, name of gymnasiums. The Penn State Nittany Lions Stadium was named after Joe Paterno. All those things had to be taken down. And I'm convinced that it's a bad, bad practice to start naming things after when people are still alive and the book has not closed and been written on them, or they're not out of office. So I think that's a really dangerous thing that we're doing. I'm kind of sick and tired of Trump sticking his beak in everything and renaming everything after himself. I think the next president's going to come in and take it all down. Um, and that's the way it should be. I think it's Congress and the historical commissions that should be doing this. Trump's self-aggrandizement to name everything after himself. I don't want to live in a Trump world where every highway, every building is named after him. But it is what it is. So I do support Joyce Beatty's lawsuit. The DHS is offering $3,000 to undocumented immigrants who self-deport by January 1st, 2026, and I do support that. If somebody's willing to go back to their homeland and get a check for $3,000, have at it. Um, Jim Beam is shutting down their bourbon production at a Kentucky distillery for a year as Trump trade wars hit its sales hard. Rand Paul, who is a libertarian, has been barking and talking, as well as Andy Beshear, the Kentucky governor, and Mitch McConnell. The trade war that Trump has started with tariffs with Canada has absolutely killed Kentucky's bourbon business. Kentucky sells so much bourbon to Canada, and now with the tariffs, the sales have gone down. And so Jim Beam, which is an iconic brand, as well as Maker's Mark, are slowing their production down because of this. Trump did follow through on his word, and I applaud him on that with the Syria bombing. There was some ISIS fighters who killed two soldiers and injured a couple more and killed a civilian, an American civilian, and Trump said he was going to retaliate, which he did, and they bombed hard. So good on that. Um, I'm a little concerned about the censorship. Under the new visa rules, Trump barred 5 Europeans from entering our country because of the views that they have said on their social media. And one is a former EU president. Trump has prevented them from coming into our country. This concerns me. This is censorship. Yesterday, Trump said that he last night um, was wanting to pull a lot of the licenses for the major news channels because he feels like that they're too negative against him. That is pure censorship. That is not what we believe in. Hunter Biden gave a 5 hour interview to a podcaster and was very frank. Said he's absolutely broke. Said he has only sold one painting in the past 3 years for $36,000. Said he's over $15 million in debt. Doesn't know how he's ever going to pay it off. But he was very candid when he said his father failed on two major issues, which defined his presidency and will hurt him historically. And that is the way we got out of Afghanistan. He felt it was the right thing to do. But the way we got out, where the Marines got killed on the airstrip, will forever stay on. Agree on that. But most importantly, he said the immigration was a complete failure with Joe Biden and the open borders. That was a big mistake. A lot of people came in that shouldn't have been coming in. Trump now is sticking his beak in battleships. He wants to redo all of the Navy's battleships and design them differently. He doesn't like the way they're designed. He doesn't like the way that they propel off the deck and there's not a lot of smoke. He wants to make steam come up and make them more beautiful. Where does this guy get off to think that he understands how to? I know he says he's smarter than the generals. He's already said that. And I know he thinks he can design anything. But this constant sticking your beak in every single thing in our society has got to stop. We didn't elect him to be God or king or reshape every single aspect of our lives. We elected him as a politician to be president of the United States. He's naming these new battleships called the Trump class of ships. These are never going to be built. The Navy moves at snail's pace. We haven't built a battleship since 1994. It takes 20, 30 years to build a battleship. Trump wants to put lasers on them. It's just a joke. I do agree that he wants to give a warrior check for 1776, $1,776 to soldiers for their service. The problem is he's taking the money from the military housing budget and giving it to the soldiers. He's also having his Treasury Secretary and the head of IRS, Scott Bessent, saying that there's going to be $1,000 check given to every American citizen who earns $100,000 or less. I'm all for that too, except they don't have the money to do that. The tariffs, where he said that they were going to come from, don't have enough that was taken in. And so Trump is putting the burden on Congress to come up with the money to give each citizen $1,000. It's not going to happen. Congress is not going to expand the debt any further. Um, what Trump has done to Elise Stefanik, what he's done to women who supported him, whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who he calls a low IQ traitor, what he did to Kerry Lake in Arizona. Kerry Lake carried his water after the election. She was an election denier. She claimed that it was stolen in Arizona. She lost the Senate race, the gubernatorial race, but she was a number one Trump supporter. She wanted a position in his administration in the cabinet or as an ambassador. Trump gave her neither. Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of his biggest supporters. Trump now calls her a traitor. Elise Stefanik couldn't have been a bigger supporter of Trump. When she was elected in the Congress, she was elected as a moderate, a traditional Republican. She went full blown MAGA. She was the number three in command. Trump named her ambassador to the UN after January of 2025 in his second term. And right before she was going to be sworn in, he pulled her nomination and said he needed her in Congress because the numbers at the time were 219 on the Republican side, 214 on the Democratic side, and they didn't want to lose a vote. So Trump put Mike Walsh in her place as the ambassador to the UN. The only problem is she went back to Congress. She decided she was going to run for governor of New York after Mike Lawler, another moderate, said he wasn't going to run against Kathy Hochul. Kathy Hochul was very vulnerable. She did win the election against Lee Zeldin, who's now the head of the EPA. But Lee Zeldin was within striking distance of her. And Elise Stefanik thought that she had a good chance. The problem was that Trump has loyalty to a Nassau County executive who started running Bruce Blakeman for governor. and Trump would not endorse Stefanik. And so earlier this week, Stefanik pulled out from running for governor, as well as she pulled out running for her seat in reelection. She was dismayed. This is just another example of Trump not returning the loyalty to women. It seems like he has no problem casting women aside. And Carrie Lake, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and now Elise Stefanik are his roadkill. I already told you that the United States has taken the third tanker with oil. Cynthia Loomis, who is a Republican senator from Wyoming, announced Friday she will not seek reelection next year. That is setting up an open seat primary in this rumored state. Um, she had only a single term in office. Donald Trump's rally on the economy in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, drew a smaller audience than was expected. It was in an economically distressed region. That's where the Hurricane Helene came through. There were a lot of merchandise and supporters who were disheartened as a result of his rally. Um, One thing that Trump struggled with at is he's trying to sell a lot of his MAGA inventory, and he marked down his hats to $5 without success. Um, Somebody said that Thomas Schaefer said, "I don't even have $5. We're broke to buy his hat. It's Christmas time, man." Um, so Trump again erupted and was very upset that he's not getting enough credit for the economy, and he has a point there. There are some very again favorable statistics, whether it's GDP, whether it's lower inflation, that he can point to. Um, the one thing that he did say that really unnerved me is he said that he is pretty sure he's going to award himself $1 billion for the government um, raiding his house with subpoenas to get the confidential classified documents. Um, he said that maybe I'll give the $1 billion to charity, but he said maybe I won't. Maybe I should keep the money. I think if he gives himself $1 billion, that's going to be the last straw um, for many, many Trump supporters, not the hardcore MAGA, but the independents, the women, the young people, and some of the Hispanics. I also think that Congress, there's many Republicans in Congress who are going to balk at that. He has had a number of different congressmen now cross the aisle and vote. Um, the whole plaques that Trump has put underneath the photographs on the White House Wall of Fame of all the presidents is really unseemly. It's his messaging that he put under there. When you take uh, it's like your crazy uncle coming over at Christmas. The comment that he made about Rob Reiner, that he had this coming to him to get killed because of his political views. Um, it just and how mean spirited he is. The guy's just got the darkest of hearts. That when there is a tragedy, he has to make it about himself. Um, uh, the student loan defaults trigger paycheck garnishment now. We had a student loan reprieve as a result of COVID, and that has ended. And I tend to agree with this that if you're going to default on your student loans and you don't have a good enough reason, that there could be wage garnishment. The Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected Trump's bid to deploy National Guard members to Chicago. This is the first time I think that the Supreme Court is really starting to stand Trump down on his dictatorship, autocratic urges to unleash our army. We are very, very concerned in our country and have been for 100 years after the Posse Comissar law to unleash our military against the people. And so I suspect now this will apply to every single state, and that Trump will not be able to release the National Guard. Um, Trump also said that he released a pardon or gave a pardon to Tina Peters, who was the Colorado election official. He said that it's an assault on our democracy. If my pardon doesn't apply to her, well, our Constitution specifically says that the president can only pardon on federal crimes. That was a state crime that she was convicted in. It was all full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Um, Trump blamed Susie Wiles for making him do the primetime 18-minute address last week on the economy, where it seemed like he was shouting at the camera and he was rushing through. Susie Wiles has said that she's going to make the election about Trump. If Trump's not on the ballot, then a lot of the MAGA faithful don't come out and vote, which is a real problem. Could be a real problem in the midterm. So she's going to make Trump be on the ballot, and that this will be a referendum against him. Um, Trump said last night that the failing New York Times and their lies, purposeful misrepresentations, is a serious threat to national security of our nation. The radical left, unhinged behavior, writing fake articles and opinions in a never ending way must be dealt with and stopped. They're a true enemy of the people. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Um, Again, that's just censorship, it's prior restraint. I have real problems with it. If you run for public office, you better understand that you're going to take the heat. Very sad NASCAR legend Greg Biffle and his couple of his family members, children, died last week in a private jet crash near the North Carolina airport. Very, very sad. Um, Trump says that um, if network newscasts and their late night shows are almost 100% negative to me, MAGA, and the Republican Party, I'm going to pull their broadcast licenses. I think that's a real problem. Again, we don't want the President of the United States being able to censor news stations. Um, Trump also said that he's going to threaten to withhold congressionally authorized and approved funding for the Smithsonian. Remember, all the executive branch does is put into effect the funding that Congress has already authorized. But Trump said he's going to withhold it to the Smithsonian until they rewrite history the way he wants it rewritten. How does he want it rewritten? He wants a lot of the slave exhibits and the slave writings um, and the narratives in that time period in the Civil War to be taken out. And he also wants his two impeachments to be removed completely from the Smithsonian. Um, Russia's foreign ministry issued a new warning to the Trump administration and said, you better slow down on what you're doing with Venezuela. Russia has a longstanding military partnership with Venezuela. They also buy a lot of oil from Venezuela, and they do a lot of um, joint economic projects. Um, the other thing is Trump was ridiculed because he said he lowered drug prices 600%. The max that you can lower something is 100%. If you're going to do something 600%, you're actually going to have the drug companies be sending us checks, which isn't happening. His Commerce Secretary, the guy from Cantor Fitzgerald, tried to spin it by saying it really is 600%. Folks, you can't make the math work. It's just total bullshit. The speech that he gave, it lied about how much he lowered drug costs. It lied about how much money we brought in. It was a complete misrepresentation on economic data and just dovetails in with what Kellyanne Conway says, that Trump walks through life with his own alternative set of facts. Let me tell you what alternative set of facts are. It's BS. Facts are facts. You are entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. There's only one set of facts. There are never two set of facts. Um, the Trump administration is making it harder for hospitals to provide gender affirming care for children, to stop medical device manufacturers from marketing breast implants and binders to children, and to stop gender dysphoria from being protected under federal disability law. And I do agree with that. I think that somebody needs to be 18 years old or close to it before we give them full authority to change their gender. I just don't agree that 12-year-olds should be preyed upon and have the right to change their gender. Trump signed an order making marijuana a less serious drug. That is good. It's not going to affect our ability to use it, but it's going to open up more research that can be done on it. So that's a good thing. I am a full believer in CBD and THC in its proper use for pain. I've been through 11 orthopedic surgeries and a number of other surgeries, just had nose surgery, I had shoulder surgery. I do not take opioids, and the CBD and Delta 9 really do help me with pain. Um, Ohio University football coach Brian Smith was fired after having an affair with his student, with a student, and there were alcohol accusations. This is dovetailing with Sharon Moore and the just troubling facts that we are hearing from about his affair with his administrative assistant uh, while he was married. There's something about these football coaches that whether it's Bobby Petrino, who um, was just hired by Bill Belichick at University of North Carolina to be the offensive coordinator. He had lied about an affair. We have Sharon Moore. We have so many of these football coaches, whether it's Ed Ogeron, he had an affair on his wife with a cheerleader. University of Texas hired Will Muschamp as their defensive coordinator. Good for him. Giselle Bundchen, Tom Brady's ex-wife, got married to her jiu-jitsu instructor. They had a baby earlier this fall. Uh, I don't think Tom Brady was too pleased about the marriage. He wrote something about that he's young forever and whatever. World War II Navy veteran Ira Ike Shlab died. He's one of the last Pearl Harbor survivors. He died at 105. Um, Friday, CNBC published its official rankings of the top 75 most valuable collegiate athletic programs, with everything in college sports coming down to the almighty dollar these days, whether it's NIL or the Porta. The rankings are amazing. University of South Carolina featured prominently. It came in at number 21, the most wealthiest of program. It saw its growth from last year. It was ranked 30th, so it has come up 9 slots. It's estimated to run a $812 million athletic department budget. That's good for the 10th richest program in the Southeastern Conference. So you can look at the numbers. Texas Longhorns is number one at 1.48 billion. Texas A&M Aggies at 1.32. Georgia Bulldogs at 1.16. Tennessee Volunteers and Alabama. Um, the bottom rung are Mississippi is last. Even the Vanderbilt and Missouri are above Mississippi. Uh, Barry Manilow, who is 82 years old and my fifth cousin, believe it or not, yes, through my family tree, announced sadly that he has lung cancer and canceled his concerts. Um, great news for South Carolina. Lenore Sellers, who I met on Sunday at Orangeburg Country Club. Just a great kid, very respectful. Took a photo with him. I'll post it this afternoon. Um, he announced that he's going to stay at South Carolina. Dylan Stewart, who was rumored to go to Alabama when the defensive line coach was hired, not to Alabama, LSU, was hired by Lane Kifflin. It was thought that he was going to bring Dylan Stewart with him. He did not. And I think it's because the Penn State line coach was hired by um, Shane Beamer, and that Penn State line coach um, um, was instrumental in coaching Abdul Carter, who was a great defensive end that plays for the New York Giants now for um, and from Penn State. So I think next year is looking really good for the Gamecocks. It's going to be a do or die, make or break year for Shane Beamer. Kathleen Jansen said, "Hi, Eric. Happy holidays. Kathleen, Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year." Robert Horton said, maybe Trump will push for national tort reform. I don't think we need national tort reform, Robert. I think the juries do it on their own. I think insurance companies are making a fortune of money. And I know that is a fact because I have been in the legal business for 38 years. So With that said, everybody have a great night before Christmas. Enjoy your family and your loved one and friends. Take a little time off from the problems of the world or your jobs, and just uh, hunker down with your family and just spread the love. And Virginia Rodriguez said, "Oh wow, fifth cousin connection to one of the worldwide singers." Happy holidays, Virginia, and everybody. Take care. I will not be doing a weekly update next week because I'll be in Colorado, but I will start again after the first of the year. Thanks so much for listening. Everybody, it's not too late to buy an Anything But Bland book as a stocking stuffer off of Amazon. I'm so appreciative of everybody, and I'm looking forward to 2026 with y'all. Bye bye.